Hello and welcome to Intuitive Clarifications with Natasha. I am here with you to help you to be who you are. And Kathryn's coming on right now so that we can go live. She had a little problems with her stuff, but we're going to get on our conversation here, and I'm letting her get organized and that kind of stuff. But I'm so grateful to have her here because we've been having some great, deep conversations lately. She's a good friend of mine, and about our lives and how it's like you think that you're going to go one way, and then you got to go the other way, and then how do you persevere through this like blocks that we always get, and these divisions that we're getting into, and oh my gosh, the energies are just being so like pelting on us right now that we're negotiating it. And are you ready, Kathryn? Yep. Okay. There you are. Hello,
Hey.
hello. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful that you're here. Because we've been really talking deeply about some things about, like you getting your messages about doing certain things, and then you get the message to go this way, and then go that way, and then go this way, and then go that way. And then, it's like we have this sometimes, and I know we both have had talked about that we have this deep down calling to do things, and but yet life hasn't had it in fruition yet, but yet we get these little nibbits,
These little
these little
nuggets.
nuggets, nibbits, whatever you want to call them, to say you're on the right path, but yet at the same time, don't jump, jump. And then we were talking
Right.
about things about how you have this calling and you do the Dawning Institute. And I'm on that too, but the website's up, but yet things aren't getting into fruition here, but yet you had that calling to do that. I'm grateful.
Well, the website itself is currently being in redevelopment. That's one of the things about this year. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Lay me right on down next to Green Day and wake me up when September ends, because this year has just been oof. But it really has taught a lot about patience and perseverance. And really, when you know what you want to do, and you take steps towards that, the thing that keeps you going is just that little mustard seed, that little nugget of hope. Because when you know what you want to do with your life, and like the old saying is, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? And so I like to think of what I am doing now as, it might take a while and it might be a little slow going, especially in the beginning. I don't know about you. I have never put together a startup. I've never, gone for this kind of venture. So it really is mess around and find out kind of thing. But it just that little bit of perseverance and hope that I know I'm doing the right thing, and that somehow in some way it's all going to come together. And that's what I think that's what this year has really been about.
I know, and that's the thing is that it's that because I back when my mom was passing away, after she passed away, I had this little note card on my paper: trust, surrender, and accept.
Right.
And the trust, surrender, and accept was part of that journey. Hi, Paula. Thank you for being here. That trust, surrender, and accept part of it was my dance to really figure out that, I couldn't have what I wanted at the minute. I had to trust the process. I had to surrender to what my life was giving me, even in the depression I was in. And then to, trust, surrender, and accept that the universe knew greater than I did on things. And I know for me that in this last year, the language has come to me. I have a life calling to do something, but I
Right.
have my life purpose is to find my own light, keep my own light going, keep my own journey going. But my calling is to teach, help, support humanity, the humans in this world. And so it's and that's how my life calling is helping me, you know, to do my life purpose, which is to keep my own light going, and so it's one of those things that everything kind of falls onto one another as we go forward. And I'm just so proud of you. Like we were talking the other day, and I'm going to bring this up because I thought that this was so important. I haven't
Okay.
done a video on it yet, but I thought that it was so important that, like you said the other day, you were on a show, or you were on this group of people, and you were saying, and I'm not going to give names or anything, but it was just the conversation, and everybody was like Mount Everest, going to Spain, doing this, doing that, and you were
Yeah.
like, oh God, I wish I could do da 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 da.
Right.
And I said, you know what though? Metaphorically, you have climbed Mount Everest 3 or 4 times. You
Yeah.
have gone to Spain 16 times. You have done these things because you've persevered through so much. And a lot of it's been, I'm going to call it hellish,
Mm,
right? Like for me, I've probably traveled around the world 6 times, didn't see the sights that I wanted to see, but I sure did the traveling,
right.
you know? And so going into that we got to own up to where we've been. And Paula says, amen, sister. And right there, it's like, there's so many of us feel like that we've gone through the car wash this year.
Oh, yeah.
But we have this Paula, I know you had that calling to move, and you moved. And in the meantime, things haven't come into fruition that you wanted them to. And that's what we're talking about, is how do you, even though things haven't come into fruition that you thought it might, we still do what we're thinking we should do.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, I've heard this from quite a few sources. Right now, it's kind of like we're in that birthing period. So, I don't know about all the mothers out there, right? We've all gone through labor and delivery, and not exactly the most comfortable experience. And so, it's kind of like when you are right there, you're doing these final pushes, and yeah, just like, get this baby out of me. Oh my goodness, get this baby. I'm done. Like, just get it done. We're right there, right? I have a feeling, and I don't know what it is, but I have this feeling like we are right there. We're at this precipice, and that's why it's so damn uncomfortable. We feel the changes, we feel the fluctuations. I mean, I'm just going to make this a little personal today, especially. There's been a couple posts, especially on Threads, that I've noticed that had to be, or that had the topic of losing our dogs. And
Mm.
as you know, Natasha, I lost Belle. I had to put her down March 18th. And
Mm-hmm.
in these past 6 months, I have been focusing on basically just put my nose down, work as much as I can, work as hard as I can, not only the 9 to 5, but to try to get TDI up and going. I have a lot on my plate. I don't have, anybody at home to help with, basically everything else. Everything is on me. The world is on my shoulders, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
heavy. And so when I kept seeing these posts, there's a couple that I responded to. And I'm telling you, I just broke down. Like, I broke down. And then a little bit later, we're talking about duality too. So a little bit later, there comes a chat over my work teams, and talking about a very unfortunate formatting on a tax form.
Mm-hmm.
So it just had, tax form, whatever, blah, 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 basically the line item it was. And the only word under the description was come, right? Like, come here. But that
Mm-hmm.
was the only word was come, and period. And I'm going, so the universe, when you're really going through it, and then you're processing, because I allowed myself to process Belle's passing, right? And I'm still
It's
processing.
lifelong. It's a lifelong thing. Just like, people
Mhm.
always think that animals pass away and our grief is short lived. Oh
Exactly.
no, I still grieve my Maya who passed away now, what, 14 years ago, you know? And then, it, or not 14 years ago, but it seems like 14 years ago, even though it was probably only maybe 3 to 5 years ago, you know, 6 years ago. But it's like, our animals are a part of us, you know. And my love goes to you because it is not an easy thing,
It's not. But there's duality. So one moment you could be grieving, and the next moment you could be laughing. It's just one of those really odd things about life. So
Grief is that way.
grief is that way. It really
Grief is that
is.
way. So going into this, and grief is part of this journey when things don't happen the way we want them to, or the timing of things. Because I know my cat passed away. She was my familiar. I've had a couple familiars in my animals, and she ended up passing away on the last day of my job that I had in the resource room, and it was beginning, and it was the 7 years after my husband got sober. And so with that, she couldn't go on with me, and so it was like, really, 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 you know it's just amazing how we negotiate these things as humans.
Right.
And it's like, and it's one step forward, three steps back, 6 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Hmm.
Sometimes we leap forward, sometimes we leap back, and then we leap forward again right away. And that's the thing is that I've been saying that I've been feeling Shiva's destruction energy around us right now, and I keep asking for creation through it. And then Ganesh come in, or somebody, Mother Mary, somebody come in and bring us this hope that things are happening, and I keep getting those little hope moments. These
Yeah.
little hope moments. We were just on the same show that is now out, and I haven't made it live yet that I've been on it, but she was saying that the whole time she was talking to me, and I know she's probably said the same thing with you, there was chills, right?
Hmm.
She had chills the whole time because of that, was that vibration. And when we have that moment where we have these chill moments, things are happening, the synchronicity, we know we're on the righter path, even though things aren't. It's kind of like tilling up the garden and getting the winter garden all fixed for winter so that you can have a nice planting in the spring. That's what I feel like is happening right now, is that we're meant to have things happen, but we don't know yet when it's going to happen. So um uh uh it's one of those things that are happening. And Paula here, I'm going to bring this out because Paula she's here with us, and Paula says, my plan has been drastically changed at the last two times in a very dramatic ways. um discorded discorded with migraine and of twists and turns, even loop to loop, but in the end of the journey is mine. So much on, and I don't know if I read that well. And I sorry, Paula, my dyslexia has been kind of going a little bit here. So reading is a little structured. So yeah, we were going into as well. Jill shuddered away, passed off. So on definitely grief, it is brutal. Yes, Jill is one of her animals. So it's one of those things, Grace. Yeah, it's one of those things that, we're in this time where we don't know what the future's gonna hold.
You don't.
But I'm
You don't.
telling
And here, another thing is that my sister's telling me about one of her friends and her husband. I'm not really going to go into it. It's not my story. But what's been going on? Um, let's say in the medical system, in the healthcare system, it's just travesty and injustice one after the other. And I'm thinking to myself, none of this is okay. None of this of what is happening with him is okay. And when you follow, how do I put this, when you follow divine, right, divine anger, because it's not anger of destruction. It would be anger of change. It's
Mhm.
anger
It's that
of
it's
growth.
that it's that this doesn't sit right in me anger. It's that
Exactly.
this is not a right thing.
Right.
This is not what should be happening.
Exactly. This is not okay, you know. And so I got another idea, and I am in the process of doing the research for it. And I already realized I already have a voice, and I'm already an advocate with World Vision. I'm already standing up and, you know, are already talking to politicians, our elected officials. I go, why don't I do that on a grander scale? Right. And so
We
here I'm
talked about
thinking,
this the other day, and I'm just like, I told you, I don't know if I can be there in language with you,
mm-hmm,
but I sure can stand behind you, and I can sure when I need to, I will go out with you.
right. And I appreciate that. I honor that. Thank you. But yeah, it's like why don't I put together a nonprofit for advocacy? You know, why don't I follow in my great grandfather's footsteps? He, you know, I've already told you, Natasha. He was a Kansas state senator back in the early 1900s, beloved by his constituents,
Mhm.
and really worked for the people, and that's been in my blood for as long as I can remember, even before I knew about it. And so now I'm thinking, you know, not really going into politics, right? That's not the arena I feel called to. It's why don't I start a nonprofit and do the advocacy and talk to our political advisors, maybe get some legislation going, actually making changes for the
Mhm.
better for the people. So you know, I'm looking into that, doing some research onto that. That I cannot do two startups at one time. That's too much for anybody. But I've got some things that I've been working on.
But
So
if you look at it though, sweetie, if you look at it, it's all in the same bag.
it is. It
You
is. Yeah.
know, the Dawning Institute is about mental health. It's about
About
this
yeah,
emotional
holistic
health,
wellness. Yeah.
yeah, and this other one that you're talking about is like we were talking about, you know, that you have some people you know that have been wronged by the medical industry, you
Hmm.
know, that they're now very ill because somebody didn't get them in time and trust what they were saying about their own body, you
Not
know?
only that, but the insurance lapsed because it got too costly. Like, how is that okay? You know, and then my story with mental health and misdiagnosis and all this stuff. It's all interconnected.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And so going into this, that, you know, there's a lot of us that are feeling, I don't want to call us activists, but
Mhm.
it's that activated. We're getting activated because we're at that point where it's like we're done with what society is like. I was listening to this one woman who's a food advocate, you know, and she was saying, why is it that our country, I don't want to get myself blocked here, but why is our country giving food to other places healthier than it is in us in the United States, which is actually causing cancer, which is actually causing, you know, like I was watching somebody, and yeah, I believe that everything has its own truths and discernments and stuff.
Mhm.
But I sure believe a lot of this stuff, even if it's not the truth, I believe that it has some truth. You know, that they're sloughing off, you know, our sewage from our sewage plants and changing it up, cleaning it up, and then putting it in our drinks.
I heard that too. So yeah, I'm not sure at this point what to believe, but because you know the lies, they call it misinformation or disinformation. It's just packaged lies.
Yeah,
Um,
but when you know that when you read on the label,
mhm.
manufact or whatever it is, you know, shifted up, la da 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 da, and there's too many people saying things.
Where there's
Too
smoke,
many
there's fire.
people
Yeah.
saying things. And oh, I would love to help when the time comes, Paula says. So if you want, I can get you two together. So Paula, do you mind if I give Kathryn your
Go ahead.
number?
I mean, you can give her my information too. That's fine.
Well, actually, your information is on the bottom of this, so just email her. I don't want to be a go-to between, but thank you, Paula,
There.
for doing that, because I know that you have your knowings too. So, yeah, please. So look at the bottom of the description of this page, and then her information's on there. So if anybody wants to help, you know, get her information and email her, because Kathryn has got some. I mean, she's amazing with the language. She's amazing. That's why I wanted her on, because she's been called. She knows that calling to do something, but then it's like, how do you negotiate the patience to have it come forward in its, as things come into collection. And I
Yeah.
know for me, like my husband keeps saying, why do you keep doing this intuitive work? I've been doing it for over 20 years. I've raised kids, helped my husband get 12 years now sober. It's like,
And
and
that's not a small feat.
and yeah, exactly. And yet my business was, nickel and diming, you know.
Right.
It's finally now coming into where it's fulfilling its own self, right? And so, but it's taken 20 years for that to happen. But I can
Mhm.
tell you my evolution in this whole story, hallelujah, I'm like, I'm at the top of Mount Everest going, it's time for me to be seen, because I
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
have.
That's a big one too. Let I've had a real fear, and I had no idea, right? I had a real fear of being seen, of having my voice heard. I may have been on stage since I was 3, right? But it was always someone else's music, always someone else's story. It was always something else. It was never my own viewpoints. It was never my own passion. It was never my own words.
Mhm.
And I actually put this on my Instagram. It's just when it hit the realization, and this was just a random video that came over my YouTube algorithm. You have a fear of being seen, and what she was saying was just a revelation. So I've been working on that as well, because when you're an abusive family structure, right, that the safer you are, the quieter you are. The
Mhm.
safer you are, the out of the way you are.
Yes.
So yeah, it was really, I've had to work on myself and my own fear of being seen, of my own fear of being heard. And really those pharmaceuticals, right? What did they do? They clouded my mind. They took my mind. They took my voice. Those are the two most powerful assets I have.
Mhm.
So out of all of this, if someone tries to take something from you, I've learned that it's because they see how powerful that is within you.
Exactly. Exactly. And I know for me that, it's like, I may not have had the pharmaceuticals, but I've had the naysayers.
Right.
And those naysayers have been pretty powerful about, and Regan Forston and I had a show last week about the naysayers. It's that naysayer moment where, and we have that naysayer in us,
Mm-hmm.
and so the pharmaceuticals. And Paula says, I've had to unplug 2 of my siblings, secondary to malpractice. Pursuing the case, we would have won, but settlement would have mostly gone to the lawyer.
Right.
And so then after that, she said she'd love to help. So, it's like we have this time where, even if you don't feel like you have the inner calling, like for me, I have the calling to have a voice for what you're saying. This food thing is pissing me right off. You know, half of the vitamins out there in the grocery stores, the pharmacists are the pharmaceuticals are making them.
Right.
So they're putting stuff in it. So I tell people, if you want to eat magnesium or something like that, go to a co-op, go to a health food situation, so that you get at least something that's not half sawdust.
There you go. Yeah. I was working for a cardiologist for about 4 years, managing his clinic, and this was in the early 2000s. And he was telling me that, yes, there's some pills in there, like placebos and whatnot, that half of the pill or even all of it is just kind of like a sawdust mixture.
Mhm.
And that was, I'm kind of off put about that. I'm not going to be honest. Like,
And a
Why?
cardiologist saying that's okay.
I,
That's how
I don't, I
brainwashed they
don't,
are in
he
a way.
never said it's okay. He just said that's a reality.
Yeah, and so and he can't stick his neck out. There's a lot of doctors who cannot stick their neck out. Otherwise, they're not gonna help anybody.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the AMA itself, it started off as a union once upon a time in its infancy, but now it's gotten to be the strong arm. And in fact, it was not only the AMA, but Rockefeller that basically said, hey, um, holistic is not okay. We can't make money off of plants, so let's go ahead and push big pharma. And all of a sudden, now you saw the throughout history the doctors and all of that were financed basically through grants and whatnot through Rockefeller. All of a sudden, all these institutions were closing that really focused on plant medicine, herbology, things like that. Even centers that were or schools that were mostly for, let's say, the not white men were closed
Mhm.
down. And you saw a lot of that, and that had a lot to do with the strong arming of pharmaceuticals, of basically Rockefeller coming through with his promise during the antitrust lawsuit that he lost, saying that you guys, the USA, you guys basically tore my legacy apart, so I'm going to tear you apart from the inside out. And so
Exactly.
that's
And
what's
I
been
think
coming to fruition.
yeah, and I'm getting, kind of that hit right now that if the Eastern medicine that comes from China, Japan, and
Hmm.
Asia, and the Eastern Indian cultures, if they weren't so ingrained in their culture, they would have been wiped out. But they're so ancient that they couldn't help but be done, type of thing. So,
Right.
I shop with, a wellness company that has, patented a formula supplement aspiration abs absorption. Let me get this here. Supplement absorption.
Absorption, yeah.
Good job, Paula. It's amazing. So we really, if anything, if you get anything out of this, that really decide how do you want to personally take care of your body. If it's not something that is made by nature, and by the way, be careful of that too, because there's things sprayed in our food. But the more boxed it is, I'm started making my own cream of mushroom soup,
I
you
heard
know,
about, I
and
heard about people doing that.
cream of chicken soup, and doing these things because it's so much more, even though dairy doesn't really care for me, but at the same time though I know that it's flour, it's mushrooms, butter, milk, and good salt that I try to eat,
Hmm.
you know and then whatever else I choose to put in it, garlic or whatever. But I'm trying to, I'm not even perfect in myself in all that, because you don't know where the milk's coming from. You don't know what flour is coming from. You don't
Right.
know what the organic, because I get the pre-made packaged garlic. It's like, yeah, I do these things, but instead of getting the cream mushroom soup in can,
Right.
I feel
Exactly.
like I'm doing much better than and it's really easy. If you know how to make a white sauce, a little butter, a little flour, get that mixed up, put some milk in it, stir that up. But first, what I do is I saute my mushrooms with a
Hmm.
little bit of garlic, saute those up, put in a little bit of flour water mixture like you're going to do a gravy, let that go, and then put a little bit of milk in, and then stir that up. The trick with gravies and that kind of stuff, so they're not lumpy, is that you want to have your heat off and your mixture cold. So when I put in my flour milk mixture or my flour water mixture, I put in a little cold water or milk to get the pan down cooler. So then I mix that up so it doesn't become lumpy.
Gotcha.
And then you add in your salt and pepper to flavoring, and then I add in as much milk as I want for stirring it up. And or you can even use chicken broth if you don't want to do milk. or bone broth or something like that. You can do that instead of milk. So you can do these things. It's so easy to take care of yourself, but it takes that gumption to say, I don't need to buy packaged food as much as I want to. you
Right.
know the convenience of that. And we've kind of, and you watch the show, How Food Was Made in America, and you can really see where
Yeah. Yeah.
but we're getting off topic here. So but that's where we get these advocacies of this, something has to change. These drives is when things don't sit in us well, and then
Mhm.
we sometimes find our life purpose, our life calling to maneuver and to do and to change things up. And there's enough of us that if we can reach out to each other and say, this doesn't feel right anymore, let me support you. I have a strength doing this, you have a strength doing that. Let's not It's not an individual journey anymore.
Absolutely.
It's not. And it's finding the people who feel safe enough to negotiate what we're going through.
Mhm.
It's that, advocacy. That's why a lot of our, when we were having the riots, that's why, these people that had a calling, and believe me, I saw a lot of people with past lives where they were poisoned and deemed bad, and they finally had a voice standing at the front going, I have a voice, I
Oh,
have
yeah.
a voice. And so going into this, that we have these lifetimes in us that sometimes we didn't have a voice, and this is the time
Mhm.
to finally have a voice, but we
It
got to
is.
find partnerships to do it with.
Exactly. And, another thing is that a lot of people are finally realizing that, like me, they're neurodivergent. Some, one of the, I guess you could say one of the pop culture words for it is neurospicy. So I have ADHD. I got diagnosed with it in my 20s, which it kind of explains a lot. But I also wrote on my LinkedIn, the topic of the article that I wrote was, what if society isn't structured to support those with neurodivergence or ADHD, but to control those who have, basically a normal brain, right? To control those that are neurotypical.
Exactly, and I can tell you, I'm right in that same boat with you. We've had this discussion. We've had so many discussions
I've
with
had
each
so
other.
many.
We could have a show on every single one of them if we wanted to.
I'd
People
go
need
right
to
off the
believe
rails,
that things
Natasha.
can change. Yes, they can. They can, and I like how you capitalize can. They
Mhm.
can change. And I
Yeah.
know for me, since I have gotten off of the um, uh, uh, insulin resistance
Mhm.
dance of sugar,
Right.
my AD trauma induced ADHD, which I've had a show on that too. The trauma induced ADHD has actually come down
That's
just a little
amazing.
bit. So I'm not so like agitated, or I'm not so like I'm not afraid to step into uncomfortableness. I'm able to work through my uncomfortableness, to slow down, to not dance, to not bounce around. I can tell this week I'm a little bit off. It's the anniversary of my mom passing, so grief is kind of hitting me a little bit. So like I cooked in this one meal. I cooked the bacon, instead of, usually I go cook the bacon, then the hamburger, then I finish the meal. No, I cook the hamburger, then I cook the bacon in another pan, then I
Why not?
and then I cook the because usually I cook the onions in another pan, and
Mhm.
then I cook the bacon and the hamburger all in one. Not at the same time, but all in one. And it's like, oh, talk about
Well,
ADHD.
I left my makeup bag at work. So, we're all having these little brain moments that's just, I don't know what happened, but I brought home a rotisserie chicken, so go figure out. I don't know. I just have to laugh at myself sometimes because it's literally like the things that you live with every day that you completely forget, but these random things that you just decide to pick up on, all of a sudden, yeah, there it is. Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh, exactly. And that's the thing, that's that going back to that trust, surrender, and accept. Maybe you being a little vulnerable as you leave the house because you're not perfect. What an idea. What an idea that you can be a little bit more vulnerable in those moments, because perfectionism right now is so like not needed.
That's been my lesson too. Yeah.
Perfectionism is not needed. We're all in the middle of doing a lot of changing, a lot of upgrading, a lot of figuring things out, a lot of like practicing to do this because this isn't working for me anymore. We never know where things are at. And and yes, some of these things do take money, but some of it doesn't. Having a conversation with someone to see if this is what I'm meant to do, that's free. you know that's free. And we're going into this moment where life is happening, and what are we going to do with it? Where are we going to go with that? What are we going to Who are we if we don't start standing up for our own personal rights?
Well, that's great. The main question that a lot of people are wondering, especially with COVID and all of this happening, they saw their lives crumbling. They have no idea what they're going to do with their lives next. They have no some people never even began to know who the heck they were or what they stood for. And so there was this 11-day mini challenge that I put on about living with authenticity last month. And the first question that I always ask someone is, who are you? Right. So, of course, they're just like, well, I don't know. That's why I'm here. Right. But really think about it. Who are you at your core? No
Hmm.
job title, no family title, no box anybody can put you in, right? So, like with me, I could easily say I'm a business owner, I'm an office manager, I'm a dog mom, I'm, this, that, and the other thing. None of that are answers that are applicable to this,
Yeah,
right? So you
exactly.
have to remember you can't use any titles or any boxes. So the main point really is to find out what the heck you stand for, right?
Hmm.
So, are you somebody that's courageous? Are you somebody that appreciates beauty like art? Are you somebody that likes to joke around and have, fun times, shenanigans? Are you a jokester? Are you somebody that's critical? Are you somebody that is patient? Are you somebody that's generous? These are all internal traits that really begin to show who you really are, and what you stand for. And when you finally realize that, is the time when you can start building on it.
Hmm.
And once you're able to build on that, I mean, and you find out who you are, what you stand for, where you go, that's powerful.
It really is. And I know for me, in the last couple years, I really had to stand up for myself.
Right.
I had people who were telling that I was doing something, and I'm like, that's not me. I have been the same person for the last 20 years in this job. I might have been a little bit more headachy this last year. I might have been a little bit more stressed, but I can sure tell you that I sure wasn't what you're describing me to be.
Projection has been big these past few years.
It has. It really has. And it was like I called it on it. I called it on it. And I keep calling on it.
Hmm.
I keep calling on it because the job description that I have right now is based on them telling me who I was. And I still call it, I still go into the office and I say, this is not who I am. For the last 20 years in this position, I've actually been helping kids read. And now you want me to go in and support classrooms?
Yeah. When did that change?
When did that change? When did that change? When I had, superior, evaluations, right?
Mhm.
When did that change? Because someone didn't like me, couldn't understand me? Well, that's their problem, not mine, And today I had to be an advocate, and I had two people who were like, because I was actually to be a voice, and saying that this is above my pay grade. This is bigger than me. Even if I don't try to say that this person's doing wrong, but the action is still a reaction. When this person does something, this happens. And we're here to watch it. And yet we're watching all these other situations.
You know,
It's like, come on, people, think about it. That this is bigger sometimes than us, but we have this calling to voice that this isn't right. But how do we do it? Do it with integrity. Check in with your intention, because sometimes people get angry, but check in with your intention. What is the purpose of this? This isn't right. I need to find a right, and I know that the journey is to find a right. I don't know what the right is yet, but I know what's happening is wrong.
so Ruth Bader Ginsburg, may she rest. She has this quote that I live by. It is speak your truth even if your voice shakes. And
Hmm.
I am telling you, these past few years, my voice was shaky. But now I'm really starting to become emboldened in my purpose and my path. And yeah, there's still some moments where my voice shakes, but damn it, I will say what is on my mind. I will say the truth. And I'm learning how to put a filter on it.
Well,
but
that's the discernment piece. That's the
that is a
discernment piece.
discernment piece because
Because
sometimes
sometimes yeah, things aren't all meant to say at one time.
yeah, sometimes there's a time and a place
There's a time and a
for
place.
what you say. And
Hmm. And there
yeah.
again is, I'm going to go back to the trust, surrender, and accept.
Mm-hmm.
Because I usually say to the universe, hey, if I'm meant to say something, you need to bring it forward so I can say it. And give me
Either
the
that or
strength to
please
say
shut my
when
mouth if I'm not supposed to.
exactly, exactly. And that's the thing is I usually notice when I'm meant to say something that it comes up to my upper part of my throat.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not meant to say something, if it's just in a feeling and emotion, it kind of stays down a little bit lower.
I like that.
That it stays just down just a little bit because it still hasn't fermented into I
Right.
need to say it. You
I
know,
like that.
and sometimes what we were gonna say, like there's something I was gonna say to somebody, and but it's coming out better now because it's a couple days later, and I can kind of get it more in a fuller picture of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so going into this, but remembering that please do not stay quiet. Find people who you can stand behind. Like this one person who it was, I think it was on TikTok that her video came through that she was sitting in front of a committee and talking about food. And I said, "Go girl. Go for it." You know,
Yeah.
you, go for it. And yet at the same time I could have maybe reached out to her and said, "What can I do to support you?"
That would have been a lovely gesture, and I'm pretty sure she would have really appreciated it.
Mhm.
And
It's
these are things that I see when I take a step back. There's all these movies and pop culture references that we see every day, and I'm just going to bring a couple of them up. One is a very popular movie series, The Hunger Games. Y'all might have heard about it.
mhm.
Another one is a not so well known uh, show series on Amazon Video. It's called The Wheel of Time. And I'm not really going to go into it, but the thing is, in both of those movies, right, they have this main character, And the whole thing is set around, all these adventures and these twists and turns and whatnot. And I thought it was great. Everybody, people thinks it's great. It's this big thing. But you take a step back, right? And I started really taking a step back, and it just hit me. Yes, the person in the front is the one celebrated, right? But they could never have gotten that far. They could have never made it without the support of their team, without the actions of many.
Exactly. Exactly.
So even though somebody might be in the front, even though somebody might be taking the heat because it's their voice, it is their action, it is their face, it is their, all of that. It is really a team effort that brings about success and systemic change. Things that we have this idea that it's just this one person leading the charge, and yeah, it could be this one person leading the charge, but I'm telling you, sometimes there's a handful, sometimes there's thousands of people making this happen. And throughout this year and a half where I've tried to work out how to make my institute operational and off the ground, it was because I was doing it as an island, as a team of one.
Mm-hmm.
And when it kind of just hit me, I'm going, this is why I'm burnt out. This is why I'm exhausted. I am trying to do everything, and I
Yeah,
cannot do everything. I
exactly.
need a team. I need help.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started reaching out for help, all of a sudden people started coming in ways I never could have expected. A referral from someone I did with a podcast on a year ago. There was someone that I
That's
just
how we
saw.
got together.
Yeah.
That's how we got together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how when you go into that, I take my hands off of it, even though I'm proactive. I'm still
Right.
doing it, but I take my hands off of it and let others come in. It's amazing how the teamwork comes in. That
You
it
have to allow it. You have to let it flow in. It's not
exactly.
something that you can force, right? That's the thing. It's another thing. We think greatness is somebody who's very strong and has an iron will, but really the most successful people I know are those who are of a humble leadership,
Mhm.
are those who step up to the plate and support. It's a hand up and not, somebody striking the hammer. It's
Exactly. What
authoritarianism.
exactly. And as you were saying that a little bit earlier about, the teamwork, I was thinking of a band. I grew up in the 80s, 60s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, with a lot of the big rock bands,
Right.
right? And one of them was Def Leppard that I
Mm-hmm.
listened to all the time, right? And even though there was a lead singer, it was always called Def Leppard. Even though they had a drummer with one arm because he was in an accident, it was always called Def Leppard.
Right.
you know and then they had these tremendous songs that even if one person is the one that writes the songs, but each person is part of the band to sing this, to make the song, and the band couldn't have been as popular as they were if it wasn't for the people,
Exactly.
if it
One vision,
wasn't for
one
the
vision.
people. And you look at anybody like that can do it, that it does take a team. Even the politicians that we have, it takes the family members, it takes the teamwork, it takes the person who knows to do better. And that's the thing, is that not everybody knows what to do.
Right.
And that's what I'm finding in my marriage right now. It's like my husband has his strengths and I have my strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Usually those two strengths aren't the same thing.
And it's supposed to be that way.
Exactly. And I've given this example before. He's great with dates. He's great with numbers. He's great with
Mm-hmm.
these things. I'm better, even though I'm dyslexic, with putting words on a card. So he he remembers there's a card, he gets the card, says right on it. I get it all sealed up. He signs what he wants, and then he gets it off in the mail because that's what he does better.
Exactly.
So,
That's how it's supposed to be.
and it's like, but the thing is, though, when he had started saying, "You didn't get the card, you didn't get the card, you didn't
Yeah,
get it in
that's
the
not my
mail,"
sense.
I said, "Honey, please, if
Help
you're
me help you, dude.
it's a community. It's a community, but that stretch and pull. And that's the thing that people think that these communities are going to come together like magic. No, you need to have a stretch and pull to figure out who each other is and if that person is meant to be. You know,
Exactly.
we've had some stretch and pull conversations, and and it's like we didn't always agree, but yet we've come to that understanding that it's like, hey, let's build the bridge anyways.
Yeah, of course. And we're not supposed to agree. I mean, I cannot tell you how boring the life would be if everybody was the same. I
Mhm.
mean, I couldn't do it. Like it
No,
no, I'm good.
no,
I'm I think we all need that little bit of chaos, that little bit of tension.
I
But
know,
we
and I
need
think
that growth though. That's the thing. If we are going to step outside of our comfort zone and grow intentionally,
mhm.
then we need to have that pushback. We need to have somebody saying, I hear what you're saying, but what about this?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. I love that creative criticism, that creative insights, those creative, and that's one thing that why I always say, whatever I'm saying to anybody, remember your truth is your truth. I'm just a perception to maybe shift and change up something to you so you can be more of a well-rounded individual, loving yourself a little bit more.
Yeah. I came to the point 2019, right? That was when I was able to get off all of those pills. When I first started counseling in the beginning of 2019, with my last, I'm going to say last counselor, she asked me, name 5 things you love about yourself. I don't know. I mean, imagine me sitting in front of you, right? But I was at 350 pounds and absolutely miserable. I could not think of a single thing I loved about myself. She's like, okay, what about 3 things? There's absolutely nothing here. I am an absolute void. But
Mhm.
if you ask me now, I mean, I can tell you, I love my resilience. I love my passion. I love my mind. I love how quickly I think. I love how, I'm able to stand up for someone. I love how I can just give out, you know, love and appreciation to people. I love how determined I am. I mean, there's so many things now about me that I can say that I love. And that is
Congratulations.
because of all the work that I have allowed. And that's really the thing, allowing. You need to want to look at yourself.
Exactly, and Paula says it's kind of like defending a thesis. LOL. You
Yeah,
know,
I'm always going to be a work in progress at this point, and I've
we
accepted that.
are. Exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh. I'm just amazed at how people have the strength to, stand up in front of, these people that make our choices. I was in the middle of walking out the door the other day, and here comes a representative from and it was about school, and and all of a sudden, pling, I had to say something,
Right. I
and
mean, you would know.
I said some truths, and there's a couple times he went, "Really?" And I went, "Yep, really."
Yeah.
I said that people down in Olympia do not know what us up here are having to deal with. Walking into a classroom, we don't know. You don't know what we go through.
Right.
You know, there again, it's that. big pharma doesn't care about little, I'm not little, but individual Natasha,
Hmm.
who needs to eat because her body needs to have food.
There's a lot of things going on in the world that's just like that. They don't care. It's profit over people. If you want to put it in another way, it's blood money,
Hmm.
right? I mean, you cannot, and I've said this before, I'll keep saying it, you cannot build an empire off the blood of the innocent and expect it to last forever. That's not
Exactly.
how this works. So they may have success after success for decades, right? But eventually they're evil, whatever, if you want to call it that, their darkness, whatever.
I call it negative ego.
The negativity, right, will be
Yeah.
exposed. The light will come to expose the darkness, and that's what we're seeing now. Right, we're seeing it with Diddy. We're seeing it with there's something that just came out, one of the podcasts that I watched about the Bush family. There's CIA documents that are coming out to light.
Hmm.
There's a lot of truths that are now finally being seen. And
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And that's the thing that again is that making sure that, and it's perfect timing for AI to come through too. It's like we really have to think, does this really
right,
make sense what I'm hearing and seeing?
right,
And I know for me, coming back to the food, that there's more truth in that because when I eat something, my lips burn. My gut feels off.
right.
I'm low energy. And it's like, okay, there's something that's not right here.
How easy is it to control someone when they're not feeling well?
When you think about McDonald's French fries,
Yeah.
you know,
I've seen the burger and fries that was under glass for 30 years and didn't really change. And I'm going, ooh.
and we're eating that. Our kids are eating that.
Like that's what we ate, right? That's what we thought was this great treat. I remember being in the car, let's go to McDonald's. We got McDonald's at home.
Mhm. Exactly. Well, it's now 5 o'clock. This hour went so fast, and I have to go somewhere right after this. So, Kathryn, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful that you came into my life. You know, I would love to have you back on. Let's get another story about this. Let's continue this journey because we're not done yet. And like I said earlier, that if you want to help Kathryn, her information is on the. Thank you, Paul, Veronica, for saying it's a great show. Thank you, everybody, for being here. That's doing this, Paula. People have worked so much to get by. They don't have the energy to pursue a good journey. It's instant gratification from the pharmaceuticals that makes it easy to conform. Couldn't have said that better, my dear.
Not only that,
Thank
but social media. Yep, we got it.
Thank you so much. If you want to support Kathryn, please, her information is on the bottom of this show. She's not alone. She's an advocate and in her own right and in her own way. I'm with her. I want to, and the journey isn't started and the journey's not done yet. It's
From
just
over.
fulfilling. It's just in the makings of how is this going to play out. And so with that, I thank you for being here. Thank you for being a voice of right, of trying to be righter than wrong. And right now, I can't say this enough. We it's always amazing. Thank you. Paula, thank you. That this is the time, and my team keeps trying to not. I try not to say the word battle, but we're in this confliction. Ha! Got it around it. Confliction of 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 darkness and light.
Yeah.
We're in this agitation between darkness and light. I found another word.
Or how about the undulation that is being quite uncomfortable right now?
I like that too, the undulation. That, we're in this time where it's like the difference between darkness and light.
Mm.
Big brother compared to us as a group. But do you know what? The many can outpower the one or the two.
We are many. We
We
have
are many. We are,
we have more power than what we have been deceived to believe.
exactly. Oh my gosh, thank you for saying that. And the Goliath story, right?
Hmm.
The Goliath story. David and Goliath. You know, it took David having the guts. And that's the thing about these lifetimes right now. I think that why we're meant to be on this planet, because a lot of us have been deemed in other lifetimes unworthy. And this is the lifetime to say, I'm worthy. I'm really worried. I
I'm
mean,
second.
worthy.
I
And
am.
I'm sorry, I was starting to read something then. The dilation can get you blocked. Yes, what's that word?
Undulation can get you blocked. Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, Kathryn, thank you for being here. Remember, if you know somebody who can use this, please like, share, and support this journey. Follow if you're a new listener here. Thank you again, Kathryn, for everything that you are. And I'm ready to hear where this is going to go, because you've got some journeying to do, and I will help you 100% if I can.
Oh, thank you, Natasha. Love you so much.
Love you too. Hang out for just a second, and then I want everybody to know that you're a miracle. If you want to reach Kathryn, the donninginstitute.com. Is that it? No. What is
Yeah,
your?
it is. It is being redeveloped, so I'm not exactly sure where you're going to be directed. So I'll let you know when it's ready to go.
Okay. But your email is
info@donninginstitute.com.
info@donninginstitute.com. You can reach me at Natasha Venter at Intuitive Clarifications if you're looking for support in your personal life journey. Remember, love can heal, but it takes us to hold that love in strong empowerment to block out the darkness. Blessing be to you. Remember, if you get the calling, practice to do it, because you can get there. It just takes that gumption to get there. Blessings be.
You've got
Have
this.
a great eclipse in this next week to
Ooh,
journey your life
another
into,
one.
to break into your new story that you're walking towards. Because remember, our old story can be evolved into the new story. Blessings be.